Voices of British Theatre Design is an online resource created by National Life Stories, the oral history fieldwork charitable trust based within the British Library's oral history section. It was published in December 2021 and was made possible thanks to funding from the Limbury Trust. National Life Stories has been active in making in-depth life story audio recordings with theatre designers and those who collaborate with them. Life story recordings are unique in their scope and level of detail, enabling a step-by-step exploration of a person's career and working practice to unfold within a narrative of their life. Life story recordings are usually between 8 and 12 hours long, and their detailed content has been invaluable to all kinds of users, from students and academic researchers to broadcasters and novelists. This new resource opens a window onto the role of the designer within theatre making. By curating a selection of short 2 to 3 minute clips extracted from the longer life stories and inviting writers to reflect on this audio in a series of written articles, our aim is for the unique oral history content to reach new audiences. The site features over 50 audio clips embedded within 12 articles. The writing is personal in tone and accessible to the general reader, as well as students at high school level and more senior researchers. An article by scenic artist, researcher and educator Grit Eckert looks at the importance of paint in theatre design from the scale model to the final set. The article features an audio clip from a life story recording with set and costume designer Alison Chitty, who was born in 1948. Alison has worked in theatre, opera and film, including as resident designer at the National Theatre. She was co-director of the Motley Theatre Design course alongside Margaret Harris, known as Percy Harris, from 1992, and director from the year 2000 until 2011. Alison refers to her design for the Minotaur, staged at the Royal Opera House, Covent Garden in 2008. She reflects on her approach to model making for set design, particularly her use of paint in scale models. Painting a model is transformational. With this step, the designer commits to the look of the production and the model comes to life.
It's very difficult painting models. I don't know if anybody else has talked about this, but I mean, it is the most difficult thing. And I always paint my own models, obviously. But I suppose most people do. I don't know, there must be people who don't. But it is the most frightening thing because it takes such a long time to prepare them. And usually, if you're lucky enough to have somebody to help you make them, then it's somebody else's work as well. And you don't know what it is, but it becomes something as you paint it. It becomes itself. And usually you have an idea about where you're going, but you don't know. Very, very difficult.
Why is it important for you to paint the model yourself?
Oh, that's idiosyncratic. That's me. I have to. I mean, I suppose if it was, a black floor, painted flat black, I could get somebody else to do it. I don't know. That's what it is. That's me. Anybody can, not anybody. In fact, I can't always make particular bits of model. Someone said to me, make a spiral staircase. I'd have to resign and retire immediately because I couldn't do it. Maybe in 6 months I could make one. I couldn't do it. Soldering, oh God, But I couldn't have anybody else paint the model. That is it's idiosyncratic and it's me.
Each of the audio extracts is accompanied by a written transcript and illustrated with a photograph or drawing, many drawn from designers' private collections and shared publicly for the first time on Voices of British Theatre Design. The following clip is illustrated by an original painting by Billie Meal. Billie Meal, born in 1947, is a theatre designer and scenic artist and was resident designer of the Liverpool Playhouse until 1998. This clip is featured in an essay by theatre designer Emma Tompkins, defining the key responsibilities at play within a theatre production. Emma reflects on how changing employment structures within theatre have affected these relationships. Billie describes how collaboration can be important to the designer as an individual, as well as to the work being produced. How do you do costume drawings?
Well, I've got so many now. I can normally just look through my portfolio and find the poses and literally just use those poses and redress them, as it were. A lovely tale about the first show I ever designed, which was The Knack by Angelico. That was at the Playhouse. I was only young at the time. Barry Kyle directed it. It was his first play. He ended up with the Royal Shakespeare Company for years, Barry. The wardrobe mistress, Kathy Alger, finished their career at the library in Manchester, and Withinshaw, very famous old wardrobe mistress, goes back years. I went out shopping with her for costumes for the NAG. And she took me in the Army and Navy first. And she said, right, if you're going to be a designer, you've got to look like one. She dressed me, right, first. She bought me a new jacket, a new pair of trousers, and said, right, now you look like a designer. And that went on the budget of the show, I think.
What did you think about that?
I thought it was great. That's great. I've still got that jacket, but it's all patched up and stuff. It was just sort of beige, khaki. It was I think it was a French military Foreign Legion type jacket with lapels and loads of pockets on it and stuff. I had it for years. I used to use it when I used to go camping a lot because it had all these pockets and stuff. And it was the cavalry twills with it. And I think I'm still wearing the same sort of thing after all those years. Kathy was brilliant. I learned a lot from Kathy. Especially, if I was sitting next to her in the theatre and it was a costume piece, she'd whisper in my ear, they've cut that the wrong way up. And I could see, there's a nap to a material. There's one way to cut it. And if you don't know what you're doing, you tend to get the material the wrong way up, and it catches the light in different ways. I remember that happening once.
Audio extracts on Voices of British Theatre Design are accompanied by links directing readers to full life story recordings and written summaries. Users of the site can navigate to each article or explore via the themes covered in the audio clips and articles. For example, to follow an interest in costume design or model making. They can also look at each British Library collection item separately, meaning each audio clip with its accompanying image. There is also biographical information on all of the speakers in the audio clips and authors on the site. To keep Voices of British Theatre Design alive and evolving, National Life Stories plans to commission further essays over the next 2 years.